those rehab processes can take longer. So it's really important for us to manage expectations from the beginning and being able to speak to the prognosis, which can really help their mindset going into that rehab process. I'll tell them that's important if they can stay consistent. We should see strength and balance improvements within that 4 to 6 week range. But this may not necessarily mean that we're going to be done then. And I prep that from day one so we can manage those expectations. But this isn't really what gets them to buy into treatment or to trust you to guide along them with this process. So we're going to look at 3 things: motivational interviewing, SMART goals, and celebrating the small wins. So with motivational interviewing, something I like to use is 7 Layers Deep exercise by Neil Graciosi. You start by asking what they want to do. Simple question. We ask that all the time. But you follow up that question with why they want it. And that may be how he explains it is you may ask that 6 more times to get to that true why, that really deep, meaningful why. I can't say that I use this 7 times, but I do like to go deeper than just the superficial of I like to walk further, or I like to have general increase in endurance. So getting them to that really deep and meaningful why can really give them motivation through the process, and it helps me come back to it and redirect them when they're having those really hard days or they're ready to quit, or they just feel like they're not getting better fast enough. So first point is getting good at motivational interviewing. I know we're going to have a podcast coming up on motivational interviewing as well, so that'll be something that you could dive into deeper there. The next thing I will look at is really selecting SMART goals. And yes, we've heard about SMART goals throughout school, and we might think we're really creating great SMART goals, but maybe we need to dive a little bit deeper for this group. For instance, if they want to be able to walk further, questions to make that more specific may be, where do they need to be able to walk to, or where do they want to be able to walk to? What are the obstacles in their way right now? Is it that they can't walk far enough? Is it that they're not stable enough? Is it that they have a really steep driveway and need to be able to walk downhill, which I've had numerous times? Are they wanting to do it with or without an assistive device? Is there an amount of time that they want to be able to complete that task in? And then obviously, how many weeks are we going to take to do that? So really diving into those nitty-gritty details while creating your goals can be really helpful for you. And then even breaking that down into that short-term and long-term goals. Like you're focused on that big picture, what they want to do at the end, but how do we break that down to, say, 4 to 6 weeks from now? Is it realistic that they're not going to use an assistive device? Is it that they're using a walker right now and they might be able to transition to a cane if their balance and strength's a little bit better 4 to 6 weeks down the line? Can you break it down for them so that they feel like they've accomplished something? And using your judgment, like we went to school for this, use your judgment and decide if it's a really realistic goal for that amount of time as well, because setting those realistic goals can be really helpful to your patients or clients. Something I really like to use, and we talk about this in our courses, is the PSFS, or the Patient-Specific Functional Scale. So with that scale, you're going to look at functional goals that they want to work towards. Typically, you're looking at something that they were able to do at prior level of function, and you're going to grade that on a scale or they're going to rate that on a scale of 0 to 10 as how they're able to do it now. So again, I like to make sure that we keep these goals realistic. Sometimes I have patients that will tell me like they want to be able to ski or something that they haven't done in a decade. And it's not that I'm saying that they're not going to do it, but it might just not be a realistic goal for us to tackle with our treatment time. So making sure that those are really specific and possible goals, and that they're rating them accurately and honestly with themselves, and encourage them. Say, like, you might not do this the way you want to do it right now, but our goal is to get you back to where you were with this and get you feeling good and safe and comfortable with those goals. So really using that motivational interviewing, so going back to that, is important to help them select meaningful goals and help them motivate them through their journey. So, lastly, and maybe one of the most important ones for me, is celebrate the small wins. I can definitely be that annoying PT that is a cheerleader, and I don't have many patients that I get annoyed by this, but I know that there are people that are just not about that energy. But I'm the first person to point out when that patient's like increased in 2 or 5 pounds with resistance. I did it today. Or I know that they're able to lift their foot off the ground more effectively or more consistently when they're walking, allowing them to be safer with walking. But looking for those really small things that might make them feel like, hey, this long process, like within this long process, I am hitting certain goals to get me to my end goal. Maybe you're vocalizing to them about how that ties into their big goal as well along the lines. So, with my patient today, I was talking about how much better he was doing transfers, like specifically pointing out that last week he needed to use his hands to get up, and today he got up 5 times, three sets of 5 without using his hands. He needed a little bit of encouragement, but he was able to do it. And what he told me after we finished this was how encouraging my words were and how that motivated him to push through to complete that activity. So for me, it's something I do just naturally, but it's nice to know that that is something that helps my patients as well. With that being said, you may also need to read the room because, like I said, not everyone responds well to the cheerleader type PT, and you may want to give more subtle compliments on their movement and feedback on their movement. But by celebrating those small wins, it can really break the long haul down into more tangible bits. Like I compare it to when I'm hiking. When I'm hiking a really long hike, I'm like, okay, I need to get to this point and then I can have a snack, or I can go to this point and then I get a rest break. But knowing what my end goal is and knowing I got there along the way can be super satisfying. If you're just thinking about the end goal and you have like 8 mile hike up a bunch of elevation, it may be harder to see that the end is in sight. So just things to think about with your patients. Quick recap. So we want to start our initial eval. Manage expectations. You want to hit that from the beginning. You want to make sure that they understand that it is going to be a long process, but we're there to help them along the way. Other things. We want to use good motivational interviewing to find their deep and meaningful whys. So not those surface level, this is what I want to do. Dig deep with them. Allow them to really find that meaning. We're going to make smart goals and celebrate the small wins. Mostly, let them know that you're here to support them in their journey and make them really feel it, because that's the best way to communicate with your patient and help them feel like along the way you're in it with them. You're going to feel that like your understanding of the bad days, and you're there to celebrate the good days, but you're going to be there the whole way. I'll also tell my patients that progress in rehab is like a roller coaster. You got your ups and downs. It's not going to be a linear straight up. You're not going to be the best every day, better every day. You're going to have a day or two where you have a regression, and it's not that you're actually regressing. It's just like, maybe we made it harder and now you feel like you're not doing as well. So really communicating all those things can be helpful with your patient. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment, message, or email me. And I hope you have a great day.